Greetings, my Fit Lifers. It's Kara Corey here, registered dietitian, for another episode of Dietitian Talk. And for today's topic, I wanted to talk about something that's relevant to everyone. This is not a video about those that compete, but I want to talk to you about something very real, which is food cravings. Food cravings are something we all get. I don't care who you are, there are things in this world that we crave to eat. And it might be a little something different for everyone. For most of us, it's usually that high fat, high sugar, salty type combination in one form or another. Why do we get cravings? Well, there's a couple different reasons why we get cravings. Mostly we're human, and in the world that we live in today, it's almost hard not to crave food, and it doesn't mean that you're weak, and I really can't stress that enough, because sometimes I do think that competitors kind of get like this cockiness about them when they're like on prep and they view others as weak. It's really not about being weak or strong. You go anywhere and you are going to either smell something, you're going to see something, you're going to view someone eating something. It's everywhere, no matter where you go. Whether you're driving down the street, past fast food joints, walking in the mall, smelling the food court, going to work, and people have candy bowls out, or people bring in plates of cookies. It's everywhere we go. And everyone has things that are triggers for them, and it might be a little something different. Like, I'm going to use my husband, for example, because I think he's a little more straightforward than me. I could get down with, like, a lot of food, okay? With him, it's, like, ice cream and brownies. Those are, like, the two things that when he starts eating them, they taste fucking good, and he just wants to keep eating them. Not because he's binging, not because he has binge eating disorder, but because there's something with those flavors there that he knows tastes so good. And it just lights something up inside of him that gratifies him, that he just wants to keep eating more, right? So for all of you viewing this video, you can probably think in your head what foods do that for you. It's a little something different. But it doesn't mean you're a binger. It doesn't mean you have binge eating disorder. Like I said, we all have those foods that give us that gratification. And that really comes from our ancestors, if you think about it, a long time ago when, back to the caveman days, when food was scarce and you didn't know when you were getting your next meal in, when they were able to eat something higher in fat, higher in sugar, something real sustainable to really sustain their body over until the next meal, you want to eat something, real caloric, high calorie dense, high fat, to really help the body out and keep you sustained for a long period of time for that next meal. And our genetics really haven't changed much, so our bodies are still programmed and wired that same way, that those tend to be the foods that we crave. And if you think about it, in 2015, the types of food combinations that we have out there are insane. The combinations of fat and salty and sweet, they are all over the place. No matter where you go, what you do, they're packaged up all perfectly and delicious, and they leave you wanting more. So it's everywhere. And one of the crazy things is the more you give in to cravings, it can actually alter your brain. And I can speak to this pretty easily just thinking about being a competitor, or for those of you who've been on a diet before. The more you stick to your diet, the easier it gets, right? So for me, being in prep, the more I stuck to my diet to a T, the easier it got. And I actually didn't crave a lot of crap food. I mean, my number one is like donuts, hands down. And I wasn't craving donuts during prep. I was like, what's going on? This is weird. But for me, the more I ate what I needed to eat and fueled my body with, I was good. I wasn't veering off my diet, and I didn't have any crazy cravings. And for those of you who've been on a diet before, you can probably relate to that. It gets simpler. But after competition, when I was able to allow myself, even that first few things, the peanut butter cups, the peanut butter M&Ms, and the froyo, and those more sugary treats, it's that quick that I started craving stuff again. It was crazy. It hit me like a brick wall. Like, I was not craving stuff, and then post-competition, the cravings hit. And I'm like, man, I didn't see that coming. Why did that happen? Oh yeah, it's that simple. This stuff is so powerful, and you can see a lot of studies out there now. Don't get me wrong, there's a ways to go with them, but where they are relating addiction of sugary foods, high-fat sugary foods, we can be addicted to them the same way we can be addicted to alcohol and drugs. Okay, maybe some of you are sitting there saying, come on, talk about how we can beat this, how we can change it. But I think in order to change it, in order to balance things out in your life, it's important to understand where this all comes from, which is why I'm spending the time talking about it. You guys can view, I have a food addiction video up where I do touch on a lot of this type of information, so please view that if you haven't already, to learn a little bit more. But there is a ton of research out there on how powerful these flavor food combinations are. So like I said, for me after the competition, it led to more cravings the more I allowed myself. So be cognizant of that. It's not to say don't ever allow yourself a donut or some peanut butter M&Ms by any means, but be mindful of what it can do, because I think that's how people lead themselves down a bad cycle with their cravings. They give into it one day, and then it turns into this domino effect where every day turns into them cheating on their diet or screwing up. Most of you can probably relate. We've all been there. I've been there before. It just leads you into this vicious path, and while you're doing that, you're ruining your self-esteem. You feel bad about yourself. You hate yourself. So it's very powerful what food can do to us and what cravings can do to us. So we have to just be mindful of those psychological effects that can take place. One of the first recommendations I would have for you with curbing your cravings would be to first identify what your triggers are. And this is key. And this is something I work with my clients on, because everyone's triggers are different. And I don't care if you work with a coach, a dietitian, a doctor, only you know your body, only you know your mind and how things impact you. And it's really your responsibility to assess that and understand what your trigger points are. And what I would recommend you do in order to figure that out, maybe you already know, maybe you don't know. I can tell you very easily for me at work, when I get stressed out and things aren't going my way, all of a sudden, I'm not hungry, I just want to eat. I can be an emotional stress eater. And I know that. I identified that early on in my management position, that for me, when I get stressed out or I'm not so confident about the situation, I'll want to eat to deal with that. And then cravings hit. So if cookies are there and donuts are there, it's over with. I'll just want to like plow into it. You know what I'm saying? So for you guys, identify what your triggers are. Is it work? Is it stress? Is it being around a certain person that rubs you a certain way? You know what I mean? It's different for everyone. So you first have to identify where those triggers are. And if you're someone that, you know, tracks your food, or maybe you don't, just take a day or two, maybe a weekday versus a weekend, because for a lot of people, those 2 days are very different in terms of what you eat and how you're impacted by things. So maybe take a weekday and take a weekend day and track out everything you eat, and along with that, track out emotionally how you're feeling and what's going on and why you ate at that moment in time. And as a dietitian, when I coach people, I might ask you for this information. And people think I'm nuts that I'm asking for it, or they maybe won't even supply that level of detail. I need that level of detail to help you. In order to move, you have to identify these things in order to move on and move around it, or to learn how to work with it. So that's my first tip for you. The second tip on how to curb cravings, I would say, is to have a plan. Go into your day with a plan. I've mentioned this on my videos before. When I've gone to work with no food packed, oh boy, if anything weird goes on, I'm in trouble, because I'm just going to say, F it. I'm going to Chipotle, or I'm going here, or I'm going there, and I'm just going to eat whatever I want, because I'm not prepared with food, and I don't know what to do in this situation, and I'm feeling rather crazy. You know, like, it can happen that quickly. So be prepared. Be prepared in terms of what your meals are going to look like for the day, whether you pack them with you or whether you're someone that eats out and makes, gets food throughout the day. It doesn't matter. Just have some type of plan for how you're going to handle your day and your food choices for the day. What's next? I do have some notes here just so I don't forget. You guys know I ramble on for at least 20 to 25 minutes usually, so I like to not forget anything. Okay, next one is take control. You have to have some control over the situation. And so with that, it doesn't always mean that you can't give in. Say someone brings in a bunch of cupcakes. It doesn't mean, well, I don't eat that. Maybe it does for you. When I'm on prep, me taking control is saying, I'm choosing not to eat those right now, and that's what I have to do. And once I get in that mindset, it's so much easier for me. It's not, oh, she can't have that. That sucks. It's, nope, I'm choosing not to have that right now because it doesn't work for my goals. And yeah, I wouldn't actually say that to someone, but I would just say, no thanks, I'm good, But take some control. Maybe you do have a cupcake, but you ask someone to split it with you, or you just go ahead and cut it in half. Just because someone brings in cupcakes and donuts doesn't mean you have to eat the whole thing. For me personally, I struggle with that because usually when I have a little taste, I want more. So again, assess your triggers and what type of person you are, but that's one way of taking control of the situation. It doesn't mean you have to eat the whole dozen cupcakes or donuts. Have a little bit and be done with it, and mentally be okay with it. And my next tip for you too is also don't forget to get some satisfaction in your diet, in your food choices. So many people I know when they're following a diet, they're gung-ho 120%, and you can do that for only so long, and then you are ready to eat your face off. You're ready to eat some cake and cookies and sweets, the high-fat, high-sugar stuff. Find a way to have some variety in your diet. If you're bringing the same boring-ass salad to work every day, it makes sense to me that at some point when people bring in pizza, you're not going to be able to say no to it because you're sick of that plain-ass salad. So I did this during my prep, and it was very helpful to bring different foods every single day. Yeah, it takes a little more time, a little more planning, a little more thought, but the more variety you have in your diet, it's amazing how much more satisfied you feel with your diet, with your eating choices. So bringing different fruits, maybe you want a salad every day because you love salads, but make your salad different, or do something different and keep that satisfaction within your current eating habits. It'll make you that much less likely to give in to cravings that maybe you wouldn't normally want to give in to. And also another tip too, you could try this out, I did this during prep, is give yourself some type of ending to the day, a happy ending if you will. For me during prep, sometimes I knew when I got home at night, because I did intermittent fasting, I was done with my meals at work. So when I came home at night, that was my end of the day. I was done eating. I wasn't going to eat anything when I got home, but I would make myself either, sometimes I would have hot tea, or sometimes, because it's been the summer since I've been prepping, usually we're doing like a big thing of branched chain amino acids, or like my machine greens, something like that to fill up my stomach, give me some flavor, but I knew it was the end of the day. So if that makes sense to you guys, find something that kind of puts an end to your day for your eating habits, because for a lot of us, going home at night is a big trigger, and people just eat an endless amount of calories at night, and maybe that's the only meal they eat all day, but they rack in so many calories you don't even realize it. So try to come up with some ending to your day. And a couple other things to touch on. You hear the standard things. When a craving does hit, if you can, wait 10 minutes to assess the situation. If you're able to, give yourself 10 minutes to, and I do this at work sometimes when I'm strong enough to, and I've got that moment of weakness where I'm stressed and I just want to eat. I'll let myself, Kara, give yourself 10 minutes. Get yourself preoccupied and busy with work, or go grab a drink, or like have something fun like a Powerade Grape Zero, or take your lunch break, go for a 15-minute walk around the block if your job allows you to do so. Do something to get your mind off it. You'll be amazed when you do that. It really does work. It gets your mind off it, and you're able to kind of just feel a little more normal and not like you're making a crazy rash decision that you'll regret later on. Because like I mentioned, people end up beating themselves up for these cravings that you give into. So the other thing too is eat something smarter. If you're having a craving, I do this with my clients all the time that say, I really have these 2 o'clock cravings and I'm letting you know it's bad. I can't like beat them. I don't know what to do. So if you're someone that you know you're gonna have those moments where you're not gonna be able to take a walk or, twiddle your thumbs for 10 minutes and think about it, then be prepared with some smarter foods. And I think the best thing to do is cut up some raw veggies, raw fruits, have things that are crunchy that you can snack on that are nutritious and take a while to eat. If you think about raw, cut up carrots or bell pepper or broccoli, those foods take a while to eat. They're high in fiber, they're nutritious, and they're not that detrimental to your diet to consume them. So if you do feel like you need to eat something and give in, have those healthy options available to you, and that can help take you a long way. And the last tip I want to leave you with too, because a lot of times people get like this second meal effect the day after giving into cravings, or the day after like a cheat, or Thanksgiving, or like an all day out eating fest. The next day you can wake up feeling hungrier. Some people wake up and they're still full, but some people wake up and you have that second meal effect where you're like, oh my God, I ate so much yesterday, but I just want to eat more today. What I recommend you doing is don't try to restrict all day long the day after. Wake up the next morning, have yourself something with like a half a cup or a cup of like a real high fiber cereal to start your day out with, all bran oatmeal, something super high fiber, a nice slow digesting carbohydrate and fiber to really fill you up and keep you satisfied, to hopefully kind of stabilize things throughout the morning so you don't lead into that bad cycle that I talked about earlier. That's what I'm going to leave you with for cravings for today, guys. Share some comments below. Maybe you have some other tips you want to share with others. I'd like this to be kind of a community, which I feel like it is, and we're here to help each other out. So if you guys have some good tips on how you curb cravings or what you do, please comment below. As always, share this video with others who might find it helpful and give it a thumbs up, please. And please comment with any other topics you would like me to discuss. Calorie restriction even, maybe for someone who is cutting hardcore because they're going on vacation, or they're gonna go to their reunion and they're cutting real hard. I think it can be applied to anyone who's really been in a long-term calorie deficit. So I think about it in terms of competing, so you'll kind of hear me speak towards that and my experiences. But for me personally, being a competitor, I had to go